The breakup story, the final ending, part 1 down below. She was a slob. Her side of the room was always disgusting, and don't even get me started on her car. I made mention of this several times, and to this day, she still just throws trash all over the place. Did I emotionally detach from her after she ignored me for years? I told her that I didn't want to live like that. It's disgusting. Yeah, she would clean up, but about a week later her side of the room looked like a tornado came through there again. This may seem petty and small, but from a man's perspective, unfortunately, so does, or you're not spending enough time with me. If she had sat me down and said, look, damn it, if some things don't change around here, I'm leaving you, I wouldn't have continued to behave in the manner that I did. She just kept allowing it, just like I allowed her behavior. Door swings both ways. This all could have been very easily fixed if she had just told me exactly what she was feeling. This was my first real relationship, and it doesn't come with instructions. Not trying to make excuses, but I also had some horrible examples of long-term couples to reference. Everybody always complains about how boring their marriages are. I figured boring was just how it got after you've been with the same person for a number of years. I also complained about lack of affection from her. When we first got together, she was all over me. After about 2 years, that died down and I told her about it. I would always be very affectionate to her, but she wouldn't really reciprocate. The only time I ever got a kiss from her is when we were leaving each other or when one of us got home from work. What happened to making out? I missed that and expressed it to her several times throughout our marriage. She never changed, but did I disconnect from her? No, I just accepted it and continued to love her. Came within a millimeter of having a relapse today. I got a bill from a debtor and texted the ex about it. She said it's coming out of her account automatically every month. It's only like $25. And to just throw it away. Every time I even text her, my heart races. I wanted so badly to call her and just pour my heart out. To try and get through to her one last time. Of course, this wouldn't be the last time at all. Thank God I came to my senses before I did any further damage. I figure I've been put through this to build up my willpower and patience, 2 things that I have been sorely lacking. It's probably why I blew my last chance at fixing things with my wife. I was underprepared for that. Anyway, I was going to try and nice my way back into her heart, when the 180 was the way to go. It probably didn't help matters any that I said something very nasty. Something she says she can never forgive me for. To her before I left after signing the divorce papers. I was just running on pure emotional pain. I wanted to do something bad. About 10 minutes later, I realized what I had done and called her to apologize, but it was already out there. She told me that she would have still had some love for me if I hadn't said that. I don't know if I believe that or not. If she still had love for me, then why in the hell was she divorcing me in the first place? I've come to a realization. Should be painfully obvious to anyone who has been following my story any. But I am not the victim. My relationship with my ex-wife was built on lies. When I first met her, I didn't think it would go any further than the initial visit. I mean, she was nice, but I wasn't attracted to her at all. I had to drive a long way to see her. So she suggested I spend the night. And when I went to leave the next day, she started crying and said that she didn't want me to leave. That should have been a huge red flag, but she actually broke my heart with that. I couldn't bear the thought of not contacting her again after I got back home. So, I kept in contact with her, and around a week later, she tells me that she thinks she's falling in love with me. Again, should have been a huge red flag, but I figured, hey, what else have I got going on? She also said she would come up to visit me this time. She rented a hotel room and we stayed there for a couple of days. We did, well, the thing, it was my first time. Yes, she deflowered me. Afterwards, she said that I had stolen her heart. Anyway, after she left, I couldn't stop thinking about her. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her smile. I don't know if it was love or the fact that she took my virginity, but all I know is I wanted to see more of this woman. The not in love with you speech, she didn't want to tell me because she didn't want to hurt me. Isn't it ironic that the one thing that kept us together in the beginning was now the only thing keeping us together presently? Just in reverse. I have said that it feels like I'm being punished for something right now. When I left my wife, I gave up my job, my home and my companion. I now have nothing. I'm living with my parents and I'm not having any luck finding employment. Is this karma or is God just testing me? I can't lie, I have had thoughts of suicide, but I doubt I'd have the balls to go through with it. I don't know. One thing is for certain, even if this didn't happen, I honestly can't say I saw myself with my ex for the rest of my life. What was I supposed to do? Hide forever? Plus, and I feel like a huge jerk for saying this, but I was always ashamed to be seen in public with my ex. She was overweight and very sloppy. It's like she didn't care at all about her appearance. I actually told her this when she served me the divorce papers. She said she could never forgive me. D-Day is only days away now, not weeks. I think I'm just ready for it to finally be over. Contact is limited between me and the ex. She only texts me to tell me that she's sending another package, my stuff that's still at her house, at the end of May. She's dropping my phone from her plan, and she does not have the number here. I wouldn't be surprised if she changes her cell phone number as soon as mine is disconnected. Also, she's blocked me on Facebook. All the clues are there, but I'm still in the denial phase. I'm just human. I still long for reconciliation, but obviously we're far beyond that point. At a moment of extreme weakness, I have been hoping to talk to my ex-wife all week. I guess it's the anxiety due to the impending divorce, but I really wanted to let her know that I understand why she did what she did. I had actually written her a letter and put it in the mailbox, but later tore it up. When she texted me today asking about some more of my stuff she was sending, I just couldn't resist. I called her. I told her about all the things I did and owned up for my part. I also told her that us splitting up was probably for the best, because had we stayed together, I probably wouldn't have changed. She agreed and also said that she hasn't called to check up on me because she's still upset about what I said to her after I signed the divorce papers, as well as some things I said to her in text following that. I didn't ask her to call off the divorce or anything. I know that's not going to happen, but I did let her know that, as corny as this sounds, I believe that she is my soulmate and I feel that God wants us to be together. Yeah, the situation with her parents is effed up, and there's going to be a lot of work to do in restoring trusts. But isn't anything worth fighting for? It was easy to get her, but the work came in with keeping her. I failed. She once said that I was the man of her dreams and I reminded her about that. I asked her if she was just saying that because she was in that new relationship fog or if she actually meant it. She said she did mean it, but also said it would be a while before she could even think about getting back together with me. I'm not giving up hope, but I'm not going to wait for her either. This, to me, felt like closure. I feel better now having talked to her. Yes, I'm most likely codependent and in denial, but I feel better today than I have all week. In other news, I might have a date tomorrow. Going to the movies with this girl I met online. We're going to meet each other there and I don't know if there's going to be anything after. And I've told her my situation. She knows I'm not looking to get serious. It would do me good to get out with new, good people. So I'm going for it. Maybe she can help take my mind off the one I let slip away. We'll see. As far as me not wanting her when she was around, well, I took everything for granted. My job, my home, my wife, even my family, all blessings and all things that I felt I was entitled to rather than being thankful for them. It took me losing everything to make me see the light. That's sadly often how it works. But, as God is my witness, if I get a second chance, I won't screw it up this time. And if it doesn't work out with the ex, then at least I'll have the knowledge to pass on to my next relationship. When I first contacted her after we separated, she was very negative. She said that there was no way, no chance for us to ever get back together. That she was done. She didn't say that at all this time. For the most part, what I got from this is that she is still very angry at me and needs her space. Or maybe that's denial rearing its head again. So I'm backing off, back to NC. I was inspired to do what I did by, again, pathetic, my mother. She told me that if I really loved her and wanted her back, that I needed to make sure I explored every avenue. Tell her exactly how important she is to me and that I'm willing to fight for her. She says women love that stuff. I told her that it wouldn't work and that all the experts say you should just stick to no contact. But is every individual exactly the same? You can't lump everyone into the same box. I don't know, I just kind of feel like I gave up too easily. When she said we should separate, I left, no argument. When she served me with divorce papers, I put up no resistance and signed them right there on the spot, even though I was basically just blindsided with them. The day after she gave me the "not in love with you" speech, I told her that I was intent on trying to win her back but left the house with the internet browser open to hotels in our town. I was just totally freaking out and didn't know what the hell to do. She called me and asked me if I was coming home after work or going to a hotel. I told her that I might go to a hotel or I might just drive around until she went to work, then come home. She then asked me why I was going to do that when I'm supposed to be trying to win her back and started crying. I then said I'd come home. I figured she would have wanted me gone, but she didn't. Or maybe she was crying because she actually did want me gone and it made her sad. I don't know, but what I got from that was that she was wanting to give me a chance. But I blew it. I wasn't ready yet. Didn't have the tools. I was still going around thinking all of this was her fault and she just came out of the blue one day and said, "I'm not happy. I want you to leave." I'll just continue to give her space and if she decides to contact me, I'll proceed accordingly. I just had to get that out into the open. It was terrible not talking to her. I was just burning up inside. And I do feel better now that I had a chance to tell her exactly how I feel and that I do realize how much I have hurt her. And she did say that it helped, but only a little. I have some stuff to keep me busy coming up this week anyway. Going to a movie with a new friend and having a dinner with a divorce group on Tuesday night. At least I won't just be sitting around feeling sorry for myself. Update: should have skipped the movie. Aside from people behind us talking the entire time, loudly. There was also a crying baby in front of us. Not to mention the fact that the girl and I have virtually nothing in common, and I just kept wishing I was there with my ex-wife instead of her. She's nice, but I doubt she's going to call anymore after this. Felt better yesterday, feel 20 times worse today. Also, this is the last day my wife and I are legally married. I just want to hide in a corner. Seriously, I had a nice chat with the leader of the support group I'm supposed to eat dinner with Tuesday. I've always been a bit of an introvert and antisocial, so this is something pretty terrifying for me. I'm going to just go for it, though. It's stepping outside of my comfort zone, and that's something I need to get in the habit of doing more often. Anyway, the gentleman I spoke to just reiterated what I already knew but didn't want to come to grips with. He said that it wasn't entirely my fault that my marriage failed, and that my ex-wife and I probably weren't the best match after all. Plus, he doesn't buy that my neglect was the only reason things didn't work out. Other people have also shared this theory, but according to her, that's the big reason for our fallout. He also had a more effed up story of his divorce than I do. He said one day he came home from work and his wife told him that they needed to get divorced because she was engaged. I was like, he also said that eventually his wife wound up wanting to get back together, but he had already moved on and turned her down flat. I said that he was my hero. Okay, I didn't say that, but I was thinking it. My family is nice to have around and their support is very precious to me, but there's nothing like talking to someone who knows exactly what you're going through to help smooth things over a bit. Now, I just have to get through tomorrow, the day of my divorce. I am officially divorced, weeks later. So, my ex-wife tells me that there could be hope for a fresh start for us if I give her space and time so that she can forgive me for some of the terrible things I said to her after receiving my divorce papers. She has also warned me that it will probably be a while. I've been doing no contact for almost 2 weeks now. I'm just wondering how strict I should be with it. Like, today she sent me a text saying that she is sending me something. It was to replace an item that she sent me that was damaged in shipping. Should I reply to the text with a thank you, or should I just continue to cut all communication? What about when I receive the package? I just don't want to come off as an ungrateful guy. I mean, I do want to reconcile with this woman at some point. I started no contact about 2 weeks ago, but mainly because she told me that if I gave her time and space, perhaps one day she could forgive me for the things I said and we could start over. She warned me that it could be a while. I suspect this is just a manipulation tactic, but it's something I needed to do anyway. I wasn't moving forward any by pursuing her. My question is, though, are there any tips you guys can give me to snap out of this delusional state that I'm in, where I fantasize about her texting me and telling me that she misses me and I run back to her and we embrace during a rainstorm and live happily ever after? I'm really getting tired of feeling this way, and holding on to some kind of hope for a miracle reconciliation seems highly unlikely at this point. I know this in my mind, but my heart says differently. Also, I feel like constantly talking about this situation is holding me back as well. But it's the only thing on my mind. All I want in this world is to be back with my ex-wife. When is reality going to kick in for me? I don't know if I'll ever truly accept that my marriage is over. I mean, what more can my ex-wife do to beat home the message to me? She's divorced me, completely turned her back on me, and told me flat out that she doesn't love me or want to be with me. She even sent me a text on our anniversary telling me that she was sending me my copy of the court summons for our divorce hearing. I just completely lost it. I think even if I found out she was seeing someone else, very likely to happen soon if not already, I still wouldn't get it. I just tell myself there's no way it's going to last and that he won't be able to measure up to me. I really need to be in counseling or something. I got issues. I really wish I could believe that in my heart. It would make this so much easier. I know where I went wrong. I kept contacting her and she gave me little glimmers of hope. When we first separated, she was very cold and said the most hurtful things. She told me that she wanted me to be happy, but it couldn't be with her. The last time I spoke to her, she said that if I gave her time and space that perhaps one day we could start over. I know I should take that with a grain of salt, but I keep thinking how patience has always been something I've lacked. Maybe this is some kind of test. And when she first gave me the love you but not in love with you, I panicked and didn't give her space. I keep thinking if I had just backed off and read about the 180 that perhaps I would still be married now. I mean, we were starting to get closer even during those 3 days before the separation. But I, not being patient, wanted an update. Asked her if any of her feelings had come back. She said it felt like I was rushing her, and she said she wanted me to leave. I know I'm just grasping onto any small shred of hope, but this is the only thing keeping me going right now. Warning signs are all there. The last time she asked for space, I got served divorce papers. And she's never been the type that needed a lot of time to do anything. She claims she fell in love with me after our first meeting. We met in person a few days after speaking with each other online. She agreed to let me move in with her after we had been dating only about 4 months. And if I had asked her sooner, she probably would have agreed to that as well. So, with me out of the picture, how long do you think it will take to replace me? Ugh, I know all of this and that should be enough, but I just can't give up on the delusion that we are meant to be together. Like I said, I'm living in hell. Well, I asked her how she felt after the divorce hearing and she said she felt like a failure. And someone I spoke to in a divorce support group told me that she won't truly feel any sort of loss until I stop pursuing her. But yeah, I really do need to come to grips with reality. I will try telling myself it's over every time I get one of those fantasies in my head. Nothing else so far seems to be working. Fear not, I have a backup in place. She said she will pray for my heart to be healed, but in the meantime she's here for me whatever I need. I almost cried when she told me that, and it made me feel like crap that I can't offer her more than friendship right now. Looking back on our relationship, I'm seeing things that I ignored while in it because, to be perfectly honest, they just didn't bother me that much. All I wanted was her. I can go into more detail if you like, and many of you may say I was already a doormat for her after hearing the whole story. But these things illustrate just how selfish she was. But then again, so was I. She would go along with just about anything I wanted to do, and I only found out just recently that she was bothered by many of them. Like, she would ask if I wanted her to put on makeup when we went out, and I told her that she didn't need it. That IMO, she looked better without it. Well, she told me that this upset her because she wanted people to see that she was trying to look good for her man. Terrible communication. She just kept all of that bottled up until it just ate away all of her feelings for me. And I didn't try hard enough to do the things she liked. We made the relationship all about me. But she was, I thought, the perfect companion. We had a lot in common. But maybe we didn't, and she was just pretending to like the same things I did. And we never had any fights. I loved coming home to her. She always had dinner ready, even on days when she worked a full shift, and greeted me with a warm hug and a kiss. She was my first love, and I lost my virginity to her. I miss her so much. And you're absolutely right, lost. I would probably let her get away with murder if it meant being in her life again right now. But she doesn't want that. If she did, she would communicate with me. I tried to talk her out of divorcing me the day before the trial, and she told me that she was still very upset with me. It's stuff like that gives me this false sense of hope. I'm thinking, oh, she's just mad at me. It'll pass and she'll be more open to reconciling. You usually don't go through the trouble of divorcing someone just because you're upset with them. Or do you? I've never divorced anyone. Edit. A bit more info. I am her second husband. Her first she also divorced after 7 years citing she just wasn't happy. Big update. I should be ashamed. Here's the story. My ex sent me a package in the mail today to replace another package that had been damaged in shipping. I texted her saying thank you, and she texted me back saying you're welcome. I shouldn't have ever texted her. I immediately expected her to follow up the text with something else, and I got extremely depressed when she didn't. So, I checked her email account. What I found in her notes section was a phone number. Of course, I call the number and it is a man. He says he works with her and there is nothing going on. I then call my ex to confess what I had done. I told her to change her email password. She, of course, was furious. She said she didn't have time to talk, but she would call me later. So, time passes and I finally get the call. I explained to her why I'm in my current state, and it's because of the way she completely turned her back on me as soon as we separated. I told her that I'm a wreck because of it. I told her she never calls me, never texts me. She just acts as if I don't matter at all. She says it was the only way she knew how to deal with things. I then asked her about what she said about us possibly starting over, and she said that after the stunt that I pulled today. The answer was no. I then reminded her that she regularly attends church and that they always preach about forgiveness and that she should be more understanding. She then says that she probably would have done the same thing under the circumstances and that she forgave me. I then asked her where we go from here. She said she guesses we just try to get on with our lives. I then told her that I meant what about us, and she said there isn't going to be any of us. She then said that she isn't willing to risk getting hurt again. I told her that I swore on my mother's life that I wouldn't ever hurt her again. That it would do me no good to revert back to my old ways because I'd be right back in this situation. That this almost killed me and that I couldn't go through it twice. Nothing I said got through to her. Big surprise. She said that she isn't going to let her guard down. I told her that if the shoe was on the other foot, I would have given her another chance, and that I guess that was the difference between us. I then hung up the phone. So, 1 step forward yesterday, 40 steps back today. All the progress I made over the last couple of weeks completely down the crapper. But at least I know now that beyond the shadow of a doubt she is definitely not willing to try and work things out with me. I finally have closure. And you can't get more of a reality check than this. I told her that I wasn't even looking to move back in with her. That I just wanted to take her out a few times and see where it went from there. She refused. My mother said that she is doing it to protect herself, that she still has feelings deep down for me, and that she knows that if she sees me again, those feelings will come to the surface and she'll be vulnerable again. That doesn't really help me, but it kind of makes sense. I guess. The end result is still the same. My ex-wife and I are completely and totally finished. Basically, back to square one now. But at least now there is certainty. Nothing is up in the air. even though it didn't turn out how I would have liked if I had it to do all over again. I probably wouldn't have changed a thing. I went out a couple of times with a very nice lady who understands what I'm going through and even said that she would be there for me for whatever I need. And I have only known her for a month, but when I'm out with her all I can think about is how I'd much rather be here with my ex-wife. I even told my ex-wife about her today and she replied with, maybe she can be me. I hope she treats you better than I did. God, what a heartless bee. If she was really so concerned about how she's treated me post-separation and divorce, then why isn't she willing to give me another chance? I really wish I could hate her. I was thinking this morning about an abused wife. When her man hits her, afterwards he usually apologizes, but a little while later, he does it again. This continues for months, even years. Once that lady finally musters up the courage to leave him, it's pretty much ironclad. I never hit my wife, but I did constantly do things that hurt her and promised to not repeat them. I'd keep my word for a bit, then slide back into my routine. I would often ask myself, why would she want me back? And yes, she did once say that she was treating me poorly so that I would leave her alone and get on with my life. Then later she says she did it because she was still upset with me. Is she crazier than I am? All the proof I needed was right in front of me the whole time, but I just refused to accept it. I can even understand why she isn't willing to risk getting involved with me again. I've done a poor job of representing myself, exhibiting the same behavior that drove her away in the first place. God, this sucks. At times, I was very cold to her. She was very sensitive and would cry at the drop of a hat, so when she cried, I just figured it was nothing serious. I would often drive her to tears and think nothing at all of it. I never really gave much thought about her happiness. I was very selfish. There was this place she liked to go and eat, but I hated it. Eventually she promised not to ask me to take her there anymore. But she would go with her family or friends. I figured that would be good enough. Well, one night she wanted to go and I let her go there alone. The place is like 40 minutes one way. Plus, you sit there for about 30 minutes before you eat. She acted like everything was fine, gave me a kiss before she left and seemed happy when she got home. Still, I should have never let her go there by herself. There were other things. I would often deny her bonding. She flat out told me that when I did that it made her feel bad, but I didn't ever pay it any mind. Other times I would just act like I didn't want to be with her. Thinking back on this, it's no wonder she doesn't want to try again. I was a real prick. Now sitting in the victim chair, truth be told, the only reason I treated her this way was because she allowed it. Plus I was so arrogant I believed she would never leave me. Well, now the joke is on me. Changing the subject a little bit, my ex-wife told me that she went through with the divorce because she was mad at me. Not because she was finished with me and didn't want anything to do with me. That seems like a very odd thing to say, especially after what she told me later that day. I don't know, maybe if I would have just backed off, she would have come around eventually. I'm certain that whatever positive feelings she had left for me are long gone now, though. I don't think the problem was with her at all, though. It was me and my lack of self-esteem. We were just so different physically. I always thought people were staring at us or ridiculing us everywhere we went. I never felt comfortable. And the bonding, well, without getting too graphic, it was basically like this. When we first met, she was very aggressive and asked for it often. Like any guy, I loved it. But as time went on, she started asking for it less and I don't know why. But I didn't like asking for it. I wanted her to ask so that I knew beyond the shadow of a doubt that she wanted it. And when she stopped asking, I would turn to videos. I got addicted. It was so bad that when she actually did ask for bonding, I couldn't perform, so I turned her down. The spending time with her. Well, I'm a video gamer. She's not that into it. I'm not all that sociable, so I would visit video game message boards and chat with fellow gamers. I didn't really have anyone else to share that common interest with. The problem is that I let it interfere with the time I should have been spending with my wife. I'd be on the computer and she'd be in the bedroom. She would call to me and tell me to get off the computer, but I would either tell her that I'd be there in a minute or flat out tell her no. Then, when she went to sleep and I wasn't yet tired, I would get on the computer again. She had asked me to stop doing that because she figured I was surfing online, and admittedly sometimes I was. But of course, being the great guy I am, I ignored her. If I wasn't happy in the marriage, it was because of me. She had her faults, but for the most part she was a great wife. Yeah, our situation was very unique and sort of mess with all the racial stuff. But I honestly didn't mind that stuff. I never met her parents and didn't want to. I did feel bad when her brother died, though, and wished I could have attended his funeral. I honestly did want to be there for her through that. Toward the end of our marriage, I started to get it. I had stopped looking at videos, started coming into the bedroom and spending more time with her, and tried to do some of the things I used to do for her when we first met. By that time, I guess it was just too late, though. I could tell things weren't quite right and it felt more like we were roommates than husband and wife. Still, as I've said before, I thought that's just the way it was supposed to be when you were with someone for an extended period of time. Horrible examples of long-term couples I had to go by, whereas she has a sister that has been married for about 30 years. A brother that has been married about that long, and her mother has been with her stepfather for a long time, too. I guess they never talk about any of the problems that they have to her because she's under the impression that their marriages are all perfect. Hell, maybe they are. I'm not trying to make excuses for myself, but she was my first serious relationship. I just didn't know how to treat a companion. I acted more like she was my buddy than my wife. Yeah, about that 12-step program. I should see about that. I think I became addicted to my wife. I didn't have any friends. I would actually scoff at the thought of meeting people because I figured I had everything I needed at my house. I was married to a loving woman who took great care of me. I didn't need anybody else in my life. This included my family. I mean, I would call them on their birthdays and the holidays, but I became completely disconnected from them. I was just in my own personal little bubble and didn't really care about anyone on the outside. And now she's gone and I'm forced to go cold turkey. It's rough, man. I often feel like myself, but I know I don't have the guts to do it. Plus, they're so expensive. I am way too chicken to try poisoning or myself. Plus, there's that whole going to hell thing. Those thoughts only creep up when I'm at my lowest points. I thought about it several times yesterday. The worst part about this is that she doesn't miss me at all. She sits around in the house that we shared for 9 years like it's nothing. That really hurts. I'm here ready to just give up on everything and she feels no sense of loss whatsoever. I guess that should make sense since she was the one who wanted out, but thinking about it makes me feel worse than I already do. I really just want to run away. The other night when she told me there was no way we would ever be getting back together, she accused me of just telling her what she wanted to hear when I said I knew exactly what to do and what not to do to make her happy. And I know for a fact that I wouldn't ever hurt her again. It seems she was the one just telling me what I wanted to hear for years in our marriage, though. Crap like I'll never let you go, and when I saw you, I knew you were the man I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. Yeah, right. When I said those things to her, I meant them from the bottom of my heart. I really wish I could hate her. Had a moment of weakness yesterday. Things went great at the support group dinner. I actually enjoyed myself for the first time since my ordeal started. It was great sitting and talking in person with other people who know exactly what I'm going through. Well, I know I shouldn't even care about these things at this point, but every time I tell my story, people always say, she had been planning this. Divorcing me, for a while. You can't get divorce papers that fast. So, I texted her and asked her about it. She still claims that she did everything on March 14th. Our divorce was final on April 15th. I also told her that I had been let go from my temp job yesterday. She said she was sorry. I then asked her why she told me about the house phone being cut off. She said it was because she had been getting calls from this area code. She took a long time to respond to this question, though. I don't know if she was talking to someone else or perhaps looking up my area code or what. Like I said, I shouldn't even be concerning myself with these things, but I just had to ask. She then said she was going to bed and I thanked her for answering my question and apologized for disturbing her. She said I wasn't disturbing her. I then told her good night and she returned it. Final update, few months later. I am finished talking to my ex-wife. I've been telling her for the past 4 months and it has gotten me nowhere. What more can I say to her that has not already been discussed ad nauseum? No, it's time for showing. I promised her I wouldn't bring up us getting back together again. Ever. She tells me she doesn't trust me to not go back to my old ways. The only way I have to show her anything is to simply do nothing. She rejected me yet again, but I did not react in my usual manner. I simply told her that I was very sorry she felt that way. Now, had this been even 2 weeks ago, I would have gotten extremely defensive and started bombarding her with questions, insults, whining, begging, then an empty promise to not do this again. It almost makes me ill just thinking about it. Now I realize there is a chance that she won't ever change her mind, but I have not tried this approach yet, and I'm not expecting overnight results. Rebuilding trust takes time, and then if this doesn't work, then I tried everything I could possibly think of. Today I joined a gym. Yup, haven't worked out yet, but I'll probably do so tomorrow or Monday. Also, my therapist recommended some churches for me to visit and suggested that I take up fishing. I had never been fishing in my life, but my brother, who usually spends weekends over my folks' place, we are two sad, lonely dudes, says he's fished a few times, so that's something we could do together. Also, day 8 of no contact. I don't even really want to contact her, but what really bugs me is that she isn't contacting me. I guess it will sting less as time goes by. Another few months later, in my usual fashion, I managed to screw everything up with my ex. I hadn't talked to her in almost 2 months and decided one day I would break no contact. Big mistake. I sent her a text joking around, thinking keeping things light would be better than my usual approach. She didn't really seem like she wanted to talk to me. Said she needed to sleep because she had been working overnight at her job. I told her I wanted to stay away, but I missed her. She then informed me that nothing had changed. I'm not going to go into every detail, but if you've been following, you know that I have a problem just taking no for an answer. So like an idiot, I kept texting her. Well, she finally got fed up and changed her phone number. Then she blocked me on Facebook. Problem solved. It hurt like hell that day, but I can see now that this is exactly what she should have done from the beginning. It's been about 3 weeks since that happened and I feel great now. Seriously, I'm having normal text conversations with 3 women I met on dating sites, and one of them could be a serious candidate for some sort of relationship. Another wants to meet, but I'm afraid she just wants to have some kind of casual fling. I've never been into that. But yeah, one door closes, 3 new ones open. I'm not going to lie and say I'm totally over my ex-wife, but I don't think about her nearly as much anymore, and when I do, I can't even force myself to shed a tear anymore. Part of me still wishes she would try and contact me so that I can tell her I'm not interested, but I won't hold my breath. She did me a huge favor by finally cutting me off. I now have no choice but to move on. My comment: why did OP wait for his ex to block him? Why can't he block her? Because he couldn't help himself. Get help when you need it. You can't beg your partner back. In fact, you can't even beg your own dog. The more you beg, the more pathetic you look. You agree? Tell me what you think, and I'll be back with another one soon.